Well, let's get right into it, shall we? By the way, good morning. I'm Kayode Okikilu. Just in case you're wondering, we're starting off with the Lagos political situation, and I think it's one that it's going to be a major one, setting the tone for 2027, really. And for a lot of people who are watching already, they know what is playing out. But let's give you, well, some legal perspective and then help you see things also from the political angle of things, such that you can make informed decisions and not get carried away by all of the back and forth and the noise. And we have joining us right here in our Lagos studio, Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Olufemi Lawson. He's right here with us. And joining us virtually is the Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Karbo. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning.
Senior Advocate, I'd like to begin with you because there's been a lot of debate around the legality or otherwise of this. But some have said, well, the law, as much as it is clear, is also not clear in that sense on how to impeach a speaker. And then the impeached speaker, Mr. Obasa, had said, well, this was not done the right way. I'm not sure if he's going to escalate this to court. But if there's a short explainer of what the law says and what the law fails to say about how a speaker should be impeached, perhaps you can just provide insight into that, Senior Advocate.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, simply, the Constitution prescribes that the Speaker of the House can be removed by the members following a resolution of a 2/3 majority of the members of the House. And the procedure for that resolution is usually set out in the standing rules of the State House of Assembly. And usually the general pattern is that if a member would table a motion to that effect, and the motion is supported by another member, and it is put into debate, and a vote would be conducted, either by vote or whatever, depending on what their standing rules prescribe. And usually, perhaps, the only other aspect of it that is relevant is if the speaker is given the due notice, that is also prescribed by their standing rules, and is given the opportunity to defend himself, because the motion has to be debated like any other motion. And usually, if there is any cause of action, the cause of action will be questioning whether, or answering the question whether or not the due process was complied with. Other than that, I think every other aspect of it is political. But like I have said, the legal aspect of it is very, very narrow. The Speaker is a member of the State House of Assembly. He's the first among equals. He's elected by the members from among themselves to preside over the proceedings of the House.
All right.
Beyond that, the member of the House.
So short answer to this. First, I know there's been controversy about whether or not he's a legal practitioner, his credentials being questioned, and all of that. Maybe you can speak to that. But is it a possibility that the court can overturn this kind of impeachment if you were to go to court? Is that a possibility?
I said that it is highly improbable. It's highly improbable because the general stand of the legal system or the courts usually is let the National Assembly, or the State House of Assembly, the Parliament in particular, or the arms of God, let them conduct their own affairs in the manner they have prescribed for themselves. Mind you, the standing rules of the State House of Assembly are like their own constitution. And usually, yes, there may be some aspect of it that is not complied with, but if there is substantial compliance, it becomes very difficult for you to have a court reverse it, because the general principle is that you cannot impose a speaker on the House. You cannot. And if there is non-compliance at all, of course, if the 2/3 majority that is required by the Constitution is not met, then obviously there is the likelihood that a court of law may avoid that particular impeachment, if that's the word. But I think the constitutional word is removal.
All right, so there's more on the legal aspects, with groups coming up to challenge, the appointment of the former Deputy Speaker as Speaker, particularly because of the Lagos Central, positioning of it. They're saying that she's from the same place as the governor, and as a result, any speaker that should have been elected should have come from Lagos West and not Lagos Central. I'd like Mr. Lawson to speak on that. I'll come to you later for what's in the rule books as far as whether it's a deputy speaker that should naturally be elected as speaker. But Mr. Lawson, I'd like you to speak to that political aspect of it all, the Lagos Central argument.
Well, for me, it's the argument that zoning, as some people are trying to advance, is not usually a culture in Lagos. In this same state, we've had deputy governor, and speaker coming from the same senatorial district. You see, this argument is basically from people who are just trying to maybe look for an escape route for the removed speaker, because in this state we have had governor, the deputy governor, and coming from even almost neighboring local government. And if she's from the same senatorial district, like I said, which has often been an argument or a culture in Lagos, is she from the same immediate constituency with the governor? She's from Apapa. The governor is from another local government. And see, we have even gone beyond that, because even if people are advancing the argument that it's senatorial district zoning in this situation, there have been people who have also argued about if you're actually from Lagos or not on this same issue. So I don't think it's an issue. The issue is that the House has the exclusive power to elect among itself a speaker, and in fact, the law does not even prescribe any condition or qualification for somebody to emerge as a speaker. All he has to do is be a member. And the same law does not also provide or give any condition for the removal of such person. In fact, the members can decide even on most frivolous ground of whether your public appearance or public statement remove you as a speaker. We've seen this happening in the past. So argument of zoning, this and that, does not hold any water as some concern in this matter. The House, as within its constitutional power, elected you, and they have said no, enough, go and take a seat. He is still a member of the House. He has not been removed as a member of the House. He has only been removed as their leader. And remember that he is just a member, just like every other person. Best amount equal to have been chosen, but not because it's better. Any member of the House is qualified by the virtue of the law to be Speaker of the House of Assembly.
And the former Speaker is saying no, my removal was unconstitutional. He has no problem with being removed. If they're talking about his declaration for the 2027 governorship race, he's eminently qualified. What does this portend for the overall stability of politicking in the House? Do you foresee in the near future a state assembly that is divided?
In actual fact, you have followed the leadership of Mr. Obasa from 2015, and he became Speaker, re-elected 2019 and 2023. Me as a Lagosian, I'm more particularly worried about the conduct of the House under his leadership, about his conduct in the public on a number of occasions, than this issue of 2027. You see, that should even be the least in this discussion. We've seen series of allegations of corruption. We've seen groups petitioning EFCC. In actual fact, there was a time the EFCC officially invited this same person through the clerk of the House for questioning. These are issues ordinarily that should have. In fact, for me, the House of Assembly was even late in removing Mr. Obasa as Speaker, going by the series of controversies that have characterized his leadership, particularly allegations of corruption, which is not good for the image of a House of Assembly of a state like Lagos. So beyond 2027, which he has right to aspire, whether as a member, as a speaker, or an ordinary citizen, I think the issues are more than. If you watch the visuals from the meeting where it was removed, members spoke about lateness, to duty. There are times this man comes to the assembly sitting at 2 p.m., at 3 p.m., keeping members waiting. We were all here, it was on live broadcast during the 2025 budget presentation by the Lagos State Governor. You saw the time that sitting commenced. You saw a lot of times where this man is challenged on allegations of corruption. I was in public, so these allegations were listed: financial impropriety, lateness to duty, high-handedness. So they have rights to even call it any allegation to remove him.
But the State Assembly, is, as you have said, is late in coming. So we might have to ask, why is it, speaking up just now, after years of so many allegations of corruption leveled against the Speaker?
I think recently there has been a lot of pressure on the Assembly, all over the media. In the last 3 months, there have been at least, to my knowledge, not less than 4 petitions, by groups against the leadership of the House. So, and a lot of other, allegations that, have been leveled against the leadership of the House. So I think though they are late, in my opinion, to have done this, I think it is still very much in order. And like they said in their declaration of the new Speaker, Honorable Miranda that day, that the House is determined to redeem its integrity, its image, because the House itself know that it is challenged now in the eye of the public.
Let's take it to the senior lawyer, and I would like you to juxtapose the morality and the legalese of what we're dealing with. So let's stay with the Constitution, section 92, subsection 2C, which my producer should be able to put up any moment from now, which is that provision that some people are referring to as to they don't have a reason, they don't need a reason. So that's what's calling to remove the Speaker of the House. So broadly speaking, I don't know whether this has been challenged in court or been tested in terms of a case law. You help us out. But my question is, doesn't that provision give open-ended discretionary powers to members of the House to do whatever they want to do? And this has nothing to do with Obasa as a person, generally speakers of the state houses of assembly.
Absolutely. Just like the gentleman stated, it's in their own prerogative to remove the Speaker, even if it is for the way he puts his cap. Mind you, the Constitution is usually very cautious in prescribing ways and means for a dynamic House. The most dynamic democratic institution is the Parliament or the legislature. So usually the law is a little bit very cautious and try as much as possible to give it a free hand to invent and reinvent itself. The political aspect of it, there is usually a lot of backroom squabbles and considerations before they can reach the decision to remove the Speaker. Mind you, a Speaker is most likely, generally, although the law does not say so, is more likely to come from within the winning party, the party in majority. So there is also the aspect of political discipline and political influence and interference as well. So the law is very clear. If the House wakes up today and says, oh, we do not like the way you are sitting, and somebody brings up a very strong motion and is able to wheel it through and the vote is passed, and 2/3 of the members vote that they eat. So the aspect of whether or not the reasons are valid, not valid, is inconsequential, because what the law does not in any way consider that as whether or not it would affect the validity of the decision to remove the Speaker. I think the gentleman has been removed. If he asks me, I'm not a politician, and my point here is very narrow, but if you ask me from experience, I do not see him going anywhere with this. But usually politicians are very clever and smart enough to reinvent themselves and give themselves some soft landing. Mind you, the Speaker in this part of the world wields a lot of powers, because what? He appoints people to committees, and some people say there are juicy committees, and that people would always hang around and support you even when they know you are not conducting the affairs of the House properly because of what? The patronage.
Let's bring it to you. Let's talk about, continue with the politics of it. On one hand, what do you think is playing out? Is it the members of the Lagos State House of Assembly that kicked him out, or there's a collaboration between the members and the GAC, or it's an entanglement of the power blocks of Lagos State? Because there's always that argument as to when we ask questions about the independence of the House to carry out an action. This has, just using Lagos as an example, there's always the argument, we made a decision of our own. But sometimes we see that it's political fireworks, proxy fireworks. So what is playing out in Lagos State?
See, you cannot totally separate politics from governance in this case, or leadership of the House, as the case may be. The emergence of Mr. Obasa as Speaker in itself is a product of politics. He was not the most qualified, and I'm sure he was not the most experienced. There were people who have been in the House even before he came.
What do you mean by most qualified? Because remember we said that qualification is not really a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Just be a member of the House.
Yes, that's right. He is a product of politics himself, because there is nothing that has actually rated him above every other person that would have been nominated. It must have been a decision of a group, either the party, the GAC, or the caucus, or as the case may be. So if we are now trying to politicize his removal because of 2027, well, it's not impossible. That is purely the business of his political party, his political caucus, or caucuses that are against his ambition. But ultimately, I think, for me as a person, I see that removal as more necessary on the basis of his conduct, these allegations hanging around him, than what his fate becomes politically into. This is not the first time he's trying to nurse ambition to occupy a position. In 2023, he attempted, the senatorial ticket of Lagos West, which he never got. And of course, he came back to the House. So if he doesn't get, the ticket of his party for the governorship, he can as well return to the House of Assembly as a member. But I think the most important thing is that we cannot, for the reasons of their political differences within themselves, undermine the gravity of the allegations that are hanging, around his leadership while he was Speaker of the House.
All right, he has said time and again that he has not declared intention to run. All he said is, well, I am qualified, but I am not running. In fact, he has said that he has not gone to meet anybody to try and run. So as far as that goes, he has not declared his intention on the one hand. On the other hand, as we begin to wind down, is the fact that you referred to a petition from EFCC, an invite from the EFCC, 2020.
Yes.
So did it take the members 5 years to decide? But hey, we have to anchor at this point. So the members will not seem like the heroes here. And he is the villain because these issues are there. So maybe that's something we should also explore in the coming days. But we have to thank you so much, Mr. Olufemi Lawson, Public Affairs Analyst and Senior Advocate of Nigeria. Mr. Sam Cargill, thank you so much for your time as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Well, we're keeping our eyes, of course, on other states. So who knows, your state may be next. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we have more for you on the show. Stay with us.